Hey everyone, welcome to Luna Celine Creations. Today I'm going to do a quick video on how to paint this pretty sunflower wine glass. It's a stemmed wine glass. We did the base up a little pretty on this one. You can leave it plain if you'd like. And then I'm going to show you how to have this effect. So when you look inside the glass, you can see that pretty center. All right, this is a pretty simple project. Beginners are quite capable of doing this, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it step by step. Let's get into it. So first I'm going to show you the paints that I'm using today. I'm using the Folk Art multi-surface. These are the satin. You can use glossy enamels or any other type of glass paint as long as it's specifically meant for glass and to be cured on glass. I bake these in the oven and it'll have these symbols on the top, which is a multi-surface or an enamel. Let's see, there's a little wine glass there. And then I guess that's wood and metal as well. So we're using black. Any kind of black will do. This is pure black. We're using a dark chocolate. This is a glossy enamel from Deco Art, dark chocolate brown. I've got a pure orange multi-surface. And I have a moon yellow. Any type of yellow will be fine, but this one is really nice. It's got a hint of gold in it, I like that. And then the berry wine, just one of my favorite colors. And always good to have a little white on hand, just in case you need to lighten something up. Or yeah, it's just always a good idea. For our brushes, we're going to be using just a regular liner brush and then one flat brush, which I'll show you in 1 second. So this is just a slim liner brush. It doesn't really have a number on it, but it is quite small. You can use a liner brush, a size 1 or a 2. If you go any smaller than that, with the sizes that are smaller, they don't hold as much paint. So they're not the best choice, but this one is a nice size, I find. And then any type of a flat brush. You could use a flat angled brush if you wanted, but this is just a regular old, well-used flat brush. Okay, I'm gonna keep this as simple as possible. Use what you have, you know, and you can get pretty decent brushes even at the dollar store. Of course, at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, you can get some nicer ones. But if you're just starting out, just grab some of the ones from your local dollar store, and they'll be just fine. Okay? We're just here to have fun. Nothing's going to be perfect, but I'm going to show you how to do this. And I actually am going to be teaching this at an upcoming paint party. So if that's something you're interested in and you're in my area, you can hit me up in the comments and let me know. Or, okay, so it's just regular, sorry, that's the French side. 70% rubbing alcohol. We just give it a little spritz. And this is a simple step, but it's very important. I've washed these glasses beforehand, but I always like to use the alcohol first. And it removes any type of residue, any oils from your hands, or if you've just purchased them from other people touching them in the store. There might have been a little price tag on there. Of course, you always want to clean that off. You can use Goo Gone if it's giving you a hard time, but this will just help the paint stick better. And it's always good to start with a nice clean slate. As with many things in life, start with a fresh page. Okay, there's our beautiful clean glass ready to go. So here we have our paints. I just put them on the little palette in the order that I'm going to be using them. Of course, we only use the fanciest palettes here at Luna Celine Creations. You can use a piece of tin foil, an old Tupperware lid, or a plastic carton lid, plastic container lid, whatever you have. You don't have to go out and buy fancy palettes. So we've got our black, our brown. Any brown will do. That's just the chocolate I have. Orange. We're calling that red, but any type of red, deep red. This is called berry wine. And then the moon yellow. Okay, so we're going to start making our dots for the center. So get in there with your black paint. Load your brush up. And then we're going to go tip it over here. And we're going to go right on the bottom. We're going to be making rings of all the different colors. Okay. This doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of this is going to be covered up. The effect that we're going for is we're going to do all these various colors underneath. And then we will go over it with black, but not a solid layer of black. We're going to dot it so there'll be a little bit of all those beautiful oranges, yellows, and reds peeking through the black. So we're going to do 2 rows of dots. Black. Okay, and then just go back around, even that out a little bit. And then you can see it's just starting to make that center. Actually, we're going to do 3. Oh, that's my cat feeder. If you hear any crazy noises in the background while we're doing this, I have a crazy orange cat. There was a chunker. And his food feeder just went off, so he'll be meowing in a second. And then I have a crazy red field golden retriever. And if somebody walks by, God forbid, she'll start barking like a maniac. So if you hear that, do forgive me. We're gonna just rinse our brush quickly in our water cup and just dry it off with a paper towel. We don't want to get water mixed in with these enamel paints for this project because it just changes the consistency. So next we'll go in with our brown, and same thing, we're gonna just, oh, see there's a little water in there. That's okay. We're gonna go in with our brown and make our row of brown. As you can see, you don't have to be particularly artistic to do this. Can you make dots with a brush and go around in a circle? Yes, I believe you can. Okay, and every time you make a glass, it'll be unique. And if you're doing this at a paint party, every person that's doing the paint party or the workshop, theirs will be unique as well. We don't judge here. We don't judge here. We just point and snicker. No, I'm just kidding. No judgment. Life is crazy. The world is crazy. And I believe that we need to make art. Or I know I do. To keep myself sane. Okay. Can you see that? It's looking pretty good. I'm probably going to go in after and blend, but this is how we start. And believe me, you can't judge it yet. Don't even think about judging it yet. It's gonna look meh before it looks wow. Okay. All right, on to the orange. Okay, we're gonna dip in with that orange now and create the next band of color. Just jotting along. I'm also gonna bring this orange down a little bit into the brown once I get a couple of rows done. Remember, this outside part is going to be mostly covered up, so don't seek perfection here. But you can see how the inside is starting to take shape. Anybody can do this, guys. Anybody can do this. And when you're using these paints, when you start out and you're making your palette, you don't have to put a lot on, okay? A little goes a long, long way. We can even go down a little bit into the black. Not too much, because I don't have a heck of a lot of blank spaces, but you can. Okay, just to fill in those gaps. Okay, can you see that? Okay, next onto the red. I love this color red. Berry red, berry wine it's called, which is appropriate for this project. Same thing. I'm going to hold it a little closer. You can see a little better what I'm doing here. Now, if you didn't want to do a sunflower, I can't imagine why you wouldn't though, because they're the best. If you wanted to do a different type of flower with different colors, you could use the same technique to make any type of flower, any color you want. You know, this is just going to be your center. I've done a few different techniques like this with pinks and purples. Sometimes I do it where the leaf, you do a leaf afterwards and it comes up the side and then the petals. So there's a wide variety. Of designs that can be done with this. These are turning a little more ovally, which is okay. They don't have to be perfectly uniform. We're just trying to create this center. Do about 2 or 3 dots and then dip back into your paint. Just putting the paint on the tip of the brush, really. Okay. See, that's coming along now. We are going to go with the red and come down a little bit into the orange, just like we did with the orange into the brown. Okay, we're just going to come down and we're just taking small dots of paint. If it blends a little bit, that's fine. Don't over blend. We don't want to make strokes here, right? We just want to dot. Okay. If it starts to get a little muddy, you can just wipe your brush off on your paper towel. Okay. Don't even need to add water. Just go back in. Okay. Small dots into your orange Actually, you can bring this all the way down into your brown. The more it's filled in, the more the negative space is filled in, the more visually interesting it'll be. Okay. Feels like it's getting gloopy. Just brush them off. You can even use your little palette there. Just like that. You're just tapping it, really, like you're tapping the paint onto the glass. Okay, next up is yellow. I went with a moon yellow for this one. And this is going to be 2 rows for sure, possibly 3. Because this is the layer that you're going to, once you start your petals, this is where you're going to start your petals from the yellow. Okay, and again, don't worry about how messy or weird or whatever this looks like on the outside, because once we overlay the black, it's gonna cover up anything that looks funky or weird. Okay, and it's going to look great. Just believe in yourself. You can do it. Oh, looks like I have a little cat hair. Shocking. When you live with animals, the places you find cat hair and dog hair. No outfit is complete without a little dog hair. I wear black to work, of course. As soon as I put my work pants on, the cat will ignore me basically all morning. And as soon as I put my work pants on, he wants to rub his leg, or rub on my leg, make his mark. He's a total brat, but I love him. We rescued him and he showed up, well, he showed up on our back porch, and you know how that goes. I couldn't just drop him off. I had to save him, so we saved him. His name is Cake, but my husband refuses to call him Cake. My husband calls him the Dude, as in the Big Lebowski. Jeffrey. Okay, so can you see how that's looking? Pretty cool. Just a bunch of random dots. Okay. Now, once you have your 2 layers, you're just gonna start tapping in some more paint to fill in those little gaps. Again, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. As it all comes together, it's going to be a beautiful mess. You kind of want this part to be filled in with yellow. This is where your petals are going to start, like I said. Tap, 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 tap. through a few taps. Gets muddy, starts blending too much, just wipe your brush off on your palette. Okay. Every single one of these glasses I make looks a little different in the end. Now you can bring down that yellow all the way through your other colors. The brightness of the yellow will just create little highlights in amongst the darker colors. Very, very light touch. You can even use your middle finger if it helps you to not do too heavy of a touch. If you feel like you have more control by using your middle finger on the top of the paintbrush, you can do that. Okay, and we're just gonna go down. It's very organic, it's very abstract. I think I hear my dog moving towards me. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. Here's our center. Okay, once we start adding the black, you're gonna see how cool that looks. Okay, again, this is what we're dealing with here. And I think that looks pretty good. So now the next step, we're going to let this mix of colors kind of dry and get happy. But while that's drying, we can begin to do the petals. All right. I'm gonna add some more yellow to my palette and I will be right back. Okay, so I've made an executive decision. I'm gonna do a touch of orange with the yellow on this glass. So we're gonna take our flat brush, we're gonna dip just a corner into the orange, and then we're gonna do the yellow on the other side. Okay, we're gonna attempt to do like a one stroke sort of a thing to start the petals. Okay. You don't have to do this part. If you want to just do yellow, you can. But I like when the orange comes up from the bottom. So we're gonna just start our first petal. Okay. So we're gonna take that into where the yellow starts. We're gonna come up. Just make a stroke. Okay. Turn your brush over. And come back down. Okay. Now we're going to work into here. Just stroke that up. Stroke the brush up. You want your top to have a bit of a pointy top. And I like how the orange and yellow blend. You don't want to come to the top of the glass. You want to leave that part for where you're drinking. You don't want your lips to be on the paint. Okay. So that looks pretty good, I think. We're going to do another layer on this after. So can go back and forth for, a couple minutes. If you start overworking it, it's going to start to lift the paint. So if you want this tip to be pointier, it's a little messy, but I always have paint on my hand. So take your thumb and run it up like so. Wipe your hand on a paper towel. And again, you can do that. If you like that tip to be a little crisper. Okay. Easy peasy. And then we're going to carry on and do the rest of the petals. I'll show you one more time. And then I'll speed it up. Okay, so a little dip of orange, quite a bit of yellow. And then we're going to go in at the base here. You want it to be pretty close to the other petal, like touching actually. Okay. Come down. Don't worry about bringing this paint up because that's going to look good. Okay. Have it overlapping a little bit at the bottom. I do like how the orange looks with the yellow myself. Make the petals quite similar. Now that's looking a little bit too orange to me. So that's an easy fix. We're gonna just go back in with a little more yellow. Just kind of blob that on there. And then some smooth strokes from the bottom again. Okay, you have to work fairly quickly with this paint. And again, we're going to do the trick on the tippy top to make that. See how it's blending there? Okay. Okay, so that looks decent. Now we're going to go in. Anything that's you don't like, that looks smudgy, or if you mess something up, we can always go in and fix it afterwards. We can use rubbing alcohol, or we can use acetone. Or if it's just a little something you want to get rid of, just use your nail if you have a little nail there. Okay, make that the shape you want it. Working with your hands is never a bad thing. You're gonna get paint on your hands when you do this. And that is okay. Okay, so there's our first two petals. And I'll go ahead and speed that up for the next part. It's gonna look really pretty. Okay, the next thing we are going to do is to go in with our black. This is still a little wet. You can let it dry a little more if you want, or you can go back to it the next day. That's perfectly fine. Depends on if you want to do this project all at once, but it's just a little tacky, but that's fine because we're just going to be dabbing, and we want it to blend a little bit, so it's actually fine if it's a bit damp. We're gonna use our larger brush. You can use a fluffy brush for this if you have a fluffy brush. I just don't happen to have one handy right now, so it's whatever you have. Okay, we're gonna dab in some paint. Okay, so you're gonna be going straight on with the paintbrush and just dabbing. Don't go too high. Don't go into this yellow at the bottom of the petal as much as we're gonna stick to the bottom, okay? And again, it's a very light hand. It's a very light hand. Don't cover it all up. I took too much paint, which is normal for me. just gonna dab it in. Your center is still looking like this, okay? The outside is gonna have more black. We're gonna go in with the other colors as well, okay? Little bit of paint, light touch. Okay, I went a little heavy here, actually. So we're gonna fix that up. Leave some of that orange showing, okay? Black is very powerful. Little goes a long way, and I overstepped with black a little bit there. So we rinse that off, go back in with a little brown, and this is all up to you, how much or how little. If you prefer it to be more solid black, it's perfectly fine. In between, just dab off your excess paint, okay? It's very abstracty. What do you like more? Do you like the berry wine? Go back in with a little berry wine. Okay, we're spinning the glass as we dab. And we're not going high onto those petals. We're staying near the bottom here. And I think that's looking pretty nice. Want to add a little more orange? Just take your corner of your orange, spin, and a very light touch. Okay. Spinning it as you go is a great way to do this. Reminds me of like a pottery wheel or something. You can even go back in with your yellow, make a few little blobs of yellow. Okay, it's very organic, this style. And the problem is, what I find sometimes is just not knowing when it's done. But at some point you have to say, I think that looks pretty good. Nobody's really going to be looking at that part, but of course you're looking at it right now, so. And whenever you feel like you're getting a little muddied, just grab your paper towel, dry your brush off. Easy peasy. Okay, now you do want your black to have like a sort of a distinct edge here. Just be very light-handed. If you see where there's a big gap of clear, you're going to want to fill that, okay? But little tiny taps and spin. That's the way to go. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty nice. Okay, so the very last step, we're going to go in with, we're going to use a glossy enamel for the second coat of the petals, because I just like the way the glossy enamel looks for the end result. Gives it that little glossy finish, so which looks nice. And we're going to go over our petals, and then I think we're going to be good. Okay, so let's do it. This is Deco Art Glossy Enamels, and I love these paints. These paints are really, really great. I love the way they glide on. They're very easy to work with, and again, a little goes a long way. So just be mindful of that. I'm actually going to go in with my smaller brush for this second coat, so then I can make a nice line for top. It's a little easier to control. Doesn't hold as much paint, so you have to have a little more patience and do a few strokes, then you can go to the bottom You're basically just going over your shape of your petal now with this. You don't have to cover every single part of it. Okay, now if you get to the bottom and you see it looks a little funky, just do some small strokes and glide the paint upwards. This is just going to give it a little more depth, or a little more interest. And again, like I said, it's going to give it that little sheen. Now, I am not doing this the next day. I am doing this probably about 20 minutes after I put that first coat. So I don't want to overwork it because the bottom layer is still a little bit tacky, but that's okay. You'll know as soon as you see one little piece of paint start to lift. You'll be like, oh, okay, time to stop. So can you see the difference there? Your bottom coat is a bit orange and that moon yellow, and then the top is that glossy enamel, which is, oops, sorry, that's bright yellow, it's called. And that just gives it a little bit of a shine, which is nice. Okay, you can start at the bottom. Be careful of not going too far into the black at this point, because your black is probably still tacky if you're doing it all in one sitting like I am. Okay, so you can even start at the base, then you can go to the tippy top. Again, when it's all dry, you can always go in and fix anything. Everything is fixable, okay? And these are gonna look really pretty when they're done. You can still see some of that orange, which is really nice. Okay.